Hello, everyone. Welcome to English Speaking Podcast.
Let's learn, practice, and speak English together.
Hey everyone, I'm so happy you're here with us today.
Hey there. It's great to see you all again. We got a topic today that I think a lot of you have been waiting for, even if you didn't know it.
That's a big claim. What is it?
Today we're talking about why so many people, even after years of studying English, still can't express their feelings properly.
Oh, this hits close to home. I've met so many learners who can read a newspaper, write a formal email, even pass advanced exams. But the moment someone asks, how do you feel about that? They just freeze.
Exactly. And here's the interesting part. It's not because they don't know enough words. Most learners we talk to actually know plenty of emotion vocabulary. It's something deeper than vocabulary.
Right, so today we're going to dig into that. By the end of this episode, you'll understand exactly what's going wrong when you try to express feelings. And more importantly, you'll walk away with real, usable phrases for the next time someone asks how you're doing.
We're going to cover three main things. First, the real psychological reason feelings are harder to express than facts. Second, the vocabulary and sentence structures you actually need for everyday conversations. And third, how to sound natural instead of like you're reading from a textbook.
And along the way, we'll do some live practice together. So you're not just listening, you're actually speaking.
While you're listening today, I want you to think about this. When was the last time you tried to explain a feeling in English and it just didn't come out the way you wanted? Maybe you wanted to say something meaningful, but all that came out was, I'm fine.
Drop that moment in the comments below. We genuinely want to hear your stories. And honestly, you'll probably see that you're not alone.
And if you haven't already, make sure to hit that subscribe button on Simple English Talks. We release new episodes every week, all designed to help you sound more natural, more confident, and more like yourself, just in English.
One more thing before we start. This episode isn't just for beginners. Even if you're at an advanced level, expressing feelings naturally is a skill that a lot of fluent speakers still struggle with.
That's so true. I've met people with huge vocabularies who still sound stiff when the conversation turns emotional.
All right, let's get into it. Let's start with the real problem. When you learn English, you usually learn facts first. I go to work. I have a car. I am from India. These sentences are easy because there's one correct answer. And once you learn the pattern, you can repeat it forever.
But feelings aren't like that at all. They're personal, they're often mixed together, and honestly, sometimes we don't even fully understand how we feel in our own first language.
That's such a good point. So imagine trying to describe something complicated in a second language when you're not even sure how to describe it clearly in your first one. No wonder it feels impossible sometimes.
Exactly, and that's why people freeze up. It's not a vocabulary problem first, it's a confidence and clarity problem. But don't worry, let's fix the vocabulary side of things too, because that really does help.
The basic structure to remember is simple. I feel plus an adjective. I feel tired. I feel excited. I feel nervous. I feel overwhelmed.
And you can extend that sentence with a reason using because. I feel nervous because I have an interview tomorrow. I feel relieved because the exam is finally over. I feel a little sad because my best friend just moved away.
Let's hear a few more everyday examples. I feel proud of how far I've come this year. I feel a bit anxious about my presentation on Monday. I feel genuinely grateful for my friends and family.
Notice how each one is short, simple, and honest. You don't need complicated grammar to say something real.
One thing learners often mix up, I feel bored versus I am boring. Can anyone actually tell the difference right away?
This is one of the most common mistakes we hear. I feel bored means you're not entertained. Nothing interesting is happening. I am boring means other people find you dull as a person. Completely different meanings, and honestly a little embarrassing if you mix them up in front of someone new.
The same rule applies to I feel confused versus I am confusing. If a lesson or explanation is hard to understand, we say the lesson is confusing and you, the listener, feel confused.
One more pair. I feel interested versus this is interesting. The topic is interesting, and because of that, you feel interested. Once you notice the pattern, it becomes much easier to remember.
Let's bring this into a real workplace example. Someone might casually ask, how was your weekend? And instead of just saying good, try something like, it was really relaxing. I finally got some proper rest. That one extra sentence already sounds more natural, more human, and more like something native speaker would actually say.
Or imagine a friend asks about your new job. Instead of just it's fine, you could say, honestly, I feel a bit overwhelmed still, but I'm slowly getting used to it. See how much more it says about you?
Can you pause for a second right now and think of one feeling you had earlier this week? Try building a full sentence using the pattern, I feel because.
Take your time with it and say it out loud, even if there's no one around to hear you. That's genuinely how the sentence becomes automatic in your brain.
So, to sum up this section, feelings are hard to express not because your English is bad, but because feelings themselves are complicated. Start simple with I feel plus adjective plus because, and be extra careful with that tricky ed versus ing adjective mistake.
Once that pattern feels automatic, we can move on to something even more useful, how to react to other people's feelings in real conversations.
Now let's move from grammar rules to real, everyday conversations, because knowing the structure isn't enough on its own. You also need to know when and how to actually use it.
That's right. In daily life, people rarely just announce their feelings out of nowhere, like, I am happy today, the end. Feelings usually come up as a natural response to something someone else says.
For example, imagine a friend says, I didn't get the job I applied for. How do you respond if you want to show that you actually understand their feelings, not just the plain fact of what happened?
You could say, oh no, that must be really disappointing. Notice something important here. We didn't ask, are you sad? We guessed the feeling for them based on the situation. That's exactly what emotionally fluent speakers naturally do.
That's such a great phrase to remember. That must be. It works for almost any situation you can think of. That must be exhausting. That must be so exciting. That must be really frustrating.
Let's actually act out a quick real-life scene together. Imagine your coworker says, I've been working overtime every single day this week.
I could respond with, that sounds absolutely exhausting. Are you doing okay? See how that question opens the conversation up, instead of just closing it down?
Exactly. Now compare that to just saying, okay, and immediately moving on to another topic. One response actually builds a connection, while the other one basically shuts the conversation down completely.
Let's also talk about the difference between formal and informal ways to express feelings, because this really matters in real life. With close friends, you might casually say something like, I'm super stressed right now, or I'm feeling kind of down today.
But in a more formal setting, like at work with your manager, you'd probably say something like, I've been feeling a bit overwhelmed lately, or I'm a little concerned about the deadline.
Let's also talk about the difference between formal and informal ways to express feelings, because this really matters in real life. With close friends, you might casually say something like, I'm super stressed right now, or I'm feeling kind of down today.
But in a more formal setting, like at work with your manager, you'd probably say something like, I've been feeling a bit overwhelmed lately, or I'm a little concerned about the deadline.
Here are 3 quick tips. First, soften strong feelings in formal situations using words like a bit, a little, or kind of. Second, with close friends, it's completely fine to be direct, dramatic, even a bit exaggerated. Third, always try to match the other person's emotional energy. Don't sound too flat if they're excited about something, and don't sound overly excited if they're clearly upset.
Here's a small live practice for you. Think of one thing that happened at work or school recently, and try responding to it using our phrase, that must be. Write your sentence in the comments below. We'll actually read some of them out in a future episode.
One more useful phrase before we move on. I can imagine. If a friend says they're nervous about a big move, you could say, I can imagine. That's such a big change. It shows empathy without making the moment about you.
And don't forget simple follow-up questions like, how are you feeling about it now? Or, is there anything I can do? These small additions make a huge emotional difference in how the conversation feels.
So, quick review of this section. React to other people's feelings with phrases like that must be, or I can imagine. Adjust your language depending on formal or informal situations, and always try to match the emotional tone of whoever you're talking to.
Once you get comfortable with this, conversations start to feel less like an English test and much more like an actual human connection.
Let's do one more scenario before we move on, because I think repetition really helps this stick. Imagine your neighbor tells you, "My flight got canceled and I had to wait at the airport for 6 hours."
I'd say something like, "Oh my goodness, that must have been so frustrating. Were you able to get any sleep?" Notice I added a follow-up question too. It shows I actually care about what happens next.
That's a great habit to build. React first, then ask a follow-up question. It turns a short exchange into an actual conversation.
Here's another common situation. A friend tells you they just started therapy or started going to the gym regularly to manage stress. Instead of just saying, "That's good," try, "That's really great to hear. How has it been going for you?"
See, it's the same idea every time. Name the feeling behind the situation, and then invite them to share more.
Now here's where things get more advanced, and honestly, I think this is where it gets really interesting too. Real feelings are almost never just one simple, clean word.
Exactly. Think about starting a brand new job. You might feel excited and nervous at the exact same time. Or think about moving to a new city, happy about the fresh start, but also a little homesick for what you left behind.
In English, we connect these mixed feelings using words like but, even though, and at the same time.
For example, I'm excited about the new job, but I'm also a little nervous about meeting new people. Or, even though I miss my family a lot, I'm really enjoying this new chapter of my life.
In the scenario, you just finished a huge project at work after months and months of really hard work.
You could say, I feel really proud of what we built together, but honestly, I'm completely exhausted too. That single sentence shows real emotional depth, so much more than simply saying, I feel good.
Politeness matters a lot here as well. If you're disagreeing with someone or expressing a negative feeling, softening your language can make a huge difference in how it lands.
Instead of bluntly saying, I'm annoyed, you could say, I have to admit I was a little frustrated by that. It's still completely honest, but it sounds far more thoughtful and much less aggressive.
Tone matters just as much as the words themselves. Saying I'm fine with a flat, quiet voice sounds completely different from saying it with a warm smile. Even in writing or text messages, your word choice carries that same tone.
Let's look at one more real example. Imagine you're saying goodbye to a close friend before a long trip. You could say, I'm really going to miss you, but I'm also so happy for this opportunity you have. Notice how naturally the mixed feeling comes through?
Here's a mini practice for everyone listening. Try describing one mixed feeling you've had recently, maybe something like happy but tired or relieved but nervous. Use the pattern I feel X, but I also feel Y.
Go ahead and say it out loud right now. Pause the episode for a moment if you need a little extra time to think.
And remember something important here. Native speakers don't expect perfect grammar in these moments. They're listening for real honesty and real connection, not textbook accuracy.
So to recap this section, real feelings are very often mixed together. Connect them using but or even though. And remember to soften negative feelings so you sound natural, polite, and emotionally aware.
All right, let's be completely honest about mistakes now, because we've made plenty of these ourselves back when we were still learning.
The first big one, and probably the most common, is mixing up the ed and ing adjectives. Saying, I'm boring instead of I'm bored is something we hear constantly.
Just to remind everyone, the ed ending describes how you personally feel, while the ing ending describes the thing or person causing that feeling. So, I'm bored, but the movie is boring.
Second common mistake, translating feelings directly from your first language, word for word. Some emotional phrases simply don't translate the same way, and they can end up sounding confusing or even a little strange to native speakers.
Third mistake, only ever using good or bad for absolutely everything. How was the trip? Good. How do you feel today? Bad. These answers aren't technically wrong, but they close the conversation down instead of opening it up.
Here's the fix. Try replacing good with something more specific and colorful, like refreshing, exciting, or memorable, and replace bad with something like disappointing, stressful, or frustrating.
Fourth mistake, and honestly this one is incredibly common, being afraid to express feelings at all and just defaulting to "I'm okay" to completely avoid the topic.
We totally understand why. It feels safer that way. But if you always say, "I'm okay," you never actually get to practice the real useful language, and your conversations stay pretty shallow.
Here's a funny personal one. I once told a work coworker I'm confused when I actually meant to say I'm confusing, and she looked so genuinely worried about me for the rest of the entire day.
These kinds of mistakes are completely normal. Everyone makes them, even advanced learners, even native speakers learning a new language themselves. The real goal here isn't perfection, it's clear communication.
One more mistake worth mentioning. Overusing intensifiers like very for every single feeling. I'm very happy, I'm very sad, I'm very tired.
Try mixing it up with words like quite, extremely, a little, or somewhat instead.
Quick practice for everyone. Take the sentence, "I am bored of my job," and try fixing it 2 different ways using everything we just covered in this section.
Don't worry at all if it takes a few tries to get comfortable. These mistakes are literally part of the learning process, not a sign that you're failing in any way.
Time for our favorite part, the choose the correct sentence activity. I'll give you 2 options, and you decide which one sounds more natural and more human.
Situation 1. Your friend just passed a big important exam. Option A, "I am happy for you." Option B, "That's amazing. You must be so relieved."
Option B sounds so much warmer and more natural. It actually names their feeling directly, not just yours.
Situation 2, someone asks how your week was, and honestly, it was really hard. Option A, "It was bad." Option B, "Honestly, it's been a pretty stressful week."
Option B, again, it's more specific and it naturally invites the other person to ask a genuine follow-up question.
Situation 3, you're excited about a trip, but also a little nervous. Option A, "I'm happy." Option B, "I'm really excited, but a little nervous too."
Option B shows real emotional depth, and honestly, it's much closer to how people actually feel in real life.
Situation 4, your sibling tells you they're moving to another city for work. Option A, "Okay, good luck." Option B, "Wow, that's a big step. How are you feeling about it?"
Option B, without a doubt, it opens up a real meaningful conversation instead of shutting it down after 2 words.
Now, let's add some variation. Try saying situation 3 in a very casual tone, like you're talking to a close friend of yours.
I'm so excited for this trip, but I'm kind of freaking out too, honestly.
Now try the formal version, like you're speaking directly to your manager at work.
I'm quite excited about the trip, although I do have a few concerns I'd like to plan around.
See how the underlying feeling stays exactly the same, but the words completely change depending on who you're actually talking to.
Situation 5, a quick one. Your friend seems quiet and distracted at lunch. Option A, "What's wrong with you?" Option B, "Hey, is everything okay? You seem a little quiet today."
Definitely option B. It's gentle, caring, and far less likely to make the other person feel defensive.
Here's your challenge for this episode. Write your own 2-option sentence in the comments based on something real that happened in your week, and we might actually read it out in our next episode.
Remember, this isn't about being perfect at all. It's about actually having the conversation. Speaking with small mistakes is always, always better than staying completely silent.
One last situation for extra practice. Situation 6. Your friend just told you they're feeling burned out from work, but they don't want to quit their job. Option A, "Just quit then." Option B, "That sounds really tough. Is there anything that might help, even a little?"
Definitely option B. It respects their situation instead of jumping straight to advice they didn't ask for.
That's actually such an important point. Sometimes people don't want a solution. They just want to feel heard first. Try saying "that sounds tough" before offering any advice at all, even if you have a great idea.
What an episode! I feel like we covered so much today, and honestly, I learned a few things myself while preparing this one.
Let's quickly recap the 3 big things we covered today. First, feelings are personal and complicated, so start simple with the pattern "I feel" plus adjective plus because.
Second, in real conversations, respond to other people's feelings using phrases like, that must be, or I can imagine, and always adjust your tone depending on whether the situation is formal or informal.
And third, real feelings are very often mixed together. So don't be afraid to say something like, I feel happy, but I also feel nervous. It genuinely sounds more human and more honest.
If you only remember one single thing today from this episode, remember this. You don't need perfect grammar to express real feelings. You just need to actually try.
So here's a question for all of you listening. What's one feeling you've personally struggled to express in English? Let us know down in the comments below. We truly read every single one of them.
And of course, if you found this episode genuinely helpful, please like this video, share it with a friend who's also learning English, and subscribe to Simple English Talks so you don't miss our next episode.
We release brand new content every single week, all carefully designed to help you sound more natural, more confident, and honestly, more like yourself, just in English.
Thank you so much for spending this time with us today. It genuinely means a lot to both of us. See you next time.